Embracer Group has probably been one of the most destructive gaming companies that we've seen in the past 6 years, and unfortunately for us, they have some of the most beloved games like Lord of the Rings and Tomb Raiders as some of the IPs that they picked up in the past 2 years. Embracer Group has spent a lot of money trying to get so many IPs that they haven't really ever worked on, and the question has been why. But before we get into that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and if you enjoy this video, make sure you watch another video. It tells the algorithm you want other people to watch the video. I would greatly appreciate it. So Embracer Group is going through a tough time, which get fucked, Embracer Group, because nobody likes you, and are being broken up into 3 different companies. Middle-earth Enterprises and Friends will be consistent of all their AAA games, from Killing Floor to Lord of the Rings to Tomb Raider and other AAA game titles that they have. Osmond Group will be the group that will deal with all their tabletop games, which is Exploding Kittens and Catan. Coffee Stain and Friends will be more of their AA and A titles that they want to invest on, like Deep Rock Galactica, Goat Simulator, and Teardown and Valheim. Yes, they have a lot of IPs. And the question is, why were they getting so many IPs without actually investing their own money to make those games? Last year, or a couple of years ago, they actually bought Gearbox, which makes all the Borderlands games, but instead of actually making a game with them, they sold them for a fraction of a price that they bought them for $500 million. Late last year in May, they had a deal with Savvy Games for $2 billion, and it kind of raises a Metal Gear alert to, what's that over there? When you start to realize that it was a Saudi group that had $38 billion to invest in the game industry in order to quickly become one of the biggest gaming investors on the planet. And it kind of puts the eye of Sauron on Embracer Group onto, oh, that's why they were trying to consolidate all these games. They had no intention of actually getting these games and putting their own money into it, but instead get money from the outside to fund these games instead of actually doing it themselves. You see, Embracer Group has been in debt for $2 billion, and because of the world's economy, has gone from 0.5 interest to actually 5% interest. And if you have $2 billion in debt, that is a lot of money that you have to pay back. And fortunately and unfortunately for Embracer Group, they are going to be broken down into these 3 different companies, but unfortunately for us, they have some of the best IPs on the planet right now, or let's not go to some of the best, but some of the most beloved IPs on the planet right now. But because they jumped into this into kind of one set mindset of consolidating all these IPs into one organization in order to get a lot of investors involved into them, now that one of their biggest investors and fallbacks that they had in order to actually fund these games, they're stuck as a company that has to restructure entirely and kind of kill Embracer Group in general, because nobody wants to invest in them, especially to a company that has laid off 1,300 employees, and not only that, has not really released anything great in the past couple of years. From killing the franchise Saints Row to splitting off from Saber Interactive that was going to remake Knights of the Old Republic on PlayStation, they kind of don't have a good reputation for putting out games from intellectual properties that they currently own. So why would anybody want to invest in you? There's no reason as to why the Saudi group Savvy Games actually gave to why they aren't investing and why they pulled out last minute. Keep in mind, all the paperwork was done, everything was ready to go, but why would anybody want to invest into a company that has no passion for the current intellectual properties that they have right now? And especially in the world's economy right now, where everything is getting more expensive to make, including video games, $38 billion is a lot to invest on, and $2 billion especially into Embracer Group, or formerly known as Embracer Group, is a lot of money to bet on a company that hasn't really proven itself at all. And in conclusion, This should be a lesson to every other game company trying to buy all these other studios in order to have these intellectual properties that you probably have no intention on funding. You have no intention on actually putting these games out. While we have seen Xbox buy 3 different giant publishers, at the very least, Xbox understands that they have the funding to put money into these studios to make these games, and have the foresight to understand we can't keep these games exclusive. While yes, this is kind of tragic that we're seeing the slow death of Embracer Group, and we haven't really seen anything from them, and it's tragic because they have a lot of intellectual properties that I love and that you love, but at the same time, this is exactly what happens when you're a toxic entity, and more when things are in your favor economically speaking. We can only hope that these intellectual properties, when the inevitability of Embracer Group goes away, which is a slow death, goes into the hands of people who will actually passionately make games and actually make games that people want. Because yes, the gaming market is one of the most profitable places that you can make money in. It's bigger than movies, and it's bigger than most entertainment sections of the world. But you actually have to make good games that people want, not just own them. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of this whole thing going on with Embracer Group. Do you think that this is a good thing or a bad thing? What does this mean for gaming in the future? And remember, you're pretty good.